We've just arrived in the colonies because there was some bitching over a tiny 3% tax. Not that big a deal, but whatever, this shit'll be easy.
What the actual fuck? Where the hell are they? Unless they're lined up 10 feet in front of me wearing bright blue uniforms, I can't see them. These guys are such assholes. What kind of a dickhead doesn't line up in a straight line and patiently take turns shooting one another?
Sir, these colonials are worse than gonorrhea. They hide behind trees and pick us off while we pass through single file wearing bright red. And you would know, Corporal, even though we're the superpower of the world, we still don't know how to counter this ingenious tactic of hiding behind trees.
God damn, we've been here 8 years and are just getting our shit pushed in. These boys weren't kidding. They really do hate taxes.
Okay, this is our last stand. We may have a chance if we just... Nope. Shit. Never mind, those ass-smelling French are here. I'm here in place of Cornwallis, because apparently he's really sick today, to deliver terms of surrender to that giant stud right there.
Hey, well. Good morning, pineapples. Sorry for the language. Welcome. It was too good not to share, right? Can we get a round of applause for History Dad over on TikTok who made that video? I should have made that video, damn it. Don't worry, there's lots more coming. Good morning, In Jam, Drew Van Runkle, Bruce Burt Whistle, Joni Rankin, Grizz Cheese, and so many more over in the chat. Click the like button. Let's get it on. It's Monday morning in America, and apparently someone finally read the manual on how to deal with genocidal maniacs who yell death to America before breakfast. And folks, it wasn't the State Department. It wasn't a think tank. It wasn't a member of Congress. It was President Donald J. Trump. That's my president. Yeah, you heard me right. The man they said was too impulsive, too volatile, and somehow simultaneously a coward. Ordered precision strikes on Iran's top 3 nuclear sites. Boom, boom, and boom. Meanwhile, some out there. No! Natanz gone. Fordow crippled. And whatever uranium they were enriching for their peaceful, mostly peaceful energy program is now glorified radioactive rubble. So naturally, what's trending on X this morning? Death to America! Death to America! Because that's what your enemies chant when they lose. Aww. Wah, wah. Did somebody lose wars? USA! 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 It's a different kind of libertarian talk show. Let me be real clear here. That's them saying it, not us, not you, not patriotic Americas, right? That chant is coming from mullahs, terrorists, and sadly, their enablers on college campuses, editorial boards, and libertarian Twitter. Yeah, I said it. Some of my fellow libertarians are squealing like somebody just taxed their weed. And we're going to talk about it this morning at 8 a.m. Central with former Air Force Colonel Rob Maness. We're going to unpack the great libertarian foreign policy meltdown. Spoiler alert, I'm not with the Blame America First crowd.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
God bless America. But first, at 7:30 a.m. this morning, you are so lucky because I have been away and I have been busy, but I still take the time to think about you. I do it for you. I do this show for you. At 7:30 a.m., we have got an exclusive with the man who has flown the very Missouri machine that turned Iran's nuclear ambitions into smoking potholes. Veteran B-2 pilot, author, true Missouri patriot, Tony Minetti will tell us what it's like to ride inside a stealth bomber for 36 hours and still come home a hero. You know how I thought of this? Because Stephanie turned to me yesterday. She says, how did they go to the bathroom in the B-2, Austin? That's a New York accent. I'm trying to Minnesota. How do I do the Minnesota accent? I need to work on it before I pull that out. It's like Fargo. How do they go to the bathroom, Austin? How do they go? There we go. That's Steffi's Michigan accent. Don't get mad. Now, folks, this moment matters. And if you've ever wondered why a guy like me, who is an avowed libertarian, sounds a little more like Javier Milei with an Ayn Rand twist and less like the Blame America First libertarian Mises crowd. Well, this is that fork in the road. This is the discussion that you want to hear. If you want to hear people give you your opinions in their voices on their podcasts and never have to confront any new ideas that might be scary as Javier Milei and Ayn Rand. I know that's going way outside the tent these days, outside the allowable opinion of the Overton window of allowed political thought in American libertarianism. But if you'll stick with me today, you might find yourself even agreeing with a little that I said. Here is Javier Milei, the highest elected libertarian in the history of the entire fucking world, in all of human history, the highest elected libertarian with the most popular public appeal and the biggest record of accomplishments ever, it says Iran is an enemy of Argentina. Israel is saving Western civilization. Oh, shit. There goes Javier Milei's libertarian card. Oh no, Austin, you're not a real libertarian. Oh no, I'm like Javier Milei and Ayn Rand. Oh no, it's terrible. No. Don't throw me in that briar patch. Yeah, so a hawkish moral defense of America and Israel and Argentina and the West against Islamic fascists, Islamic terrorists, pan-Arab nationalism, and every ideology that stands opposed to truth, justice, and the American way, and the ideas of liberty. So many are confused that when they say that the government, so many libertarians have confused the idea that we should have less government intervention in many ways with the idea that there cannot be a moral condemnation of those who despise our values. But here's the real truth that many people don't want to accept, is that the fact is that when you read the views of those who hate us overseas, how many times have I been lectured by people who tell me, well, why don't you read why they hate us? It's not for our freedom. Well, at first I believed them and thought, yeah, it can't just be so simple. The only reason why they would ever do something like this is because we bombed their homes. It's because we have been attacking them. That is the only reason they'd ever do it. And they say, educate yourself. You should educate yourself. Well, guess what? It was that moment 20 some odd years ago, watching Ron Paul take Giuliani to the woodshed over 9/11 and the reasons they attacked us. It was that moment that got me into the libertarian movement. And so I listened to Ron Paul and I did read why they hate us and why they attack us. Turns out it's not just because we're bombing them. It's because the number one thing that Islamists demand of the West is that we convert to Islam. Sorry, that is non-negotiable. Also, Glenn Greenwald, arch leftist, enemy of the United States and Israel, friend of every tin pot dictator that ever existed, is saying that the neocon warmongers are all behind this, and and the libertarians are more than happy to pat him on his little miniskirt wearing butt and agree with him as they chant "Death to America." They've never done anything to harm us. They've never done anything to harm us. Bullshit. Why do you think that Javier, and there it is, the lie. They call it, Glenn Greenwald called it the neocon lie that they hate us for our freedoms. It is a libertarian lie that they don't hate us for our freedoms. Actually, it's a leftist lie because libertarians are so unfortunately irrelevant because there is no tactical, strategic, there is no foreign policy beyond a simple 2 or 3 word phrase parroted from ideas that were stolen from someone else. No original thoughts ever. We are entirely besotted by those who are struggling with the disease of intellectual inbreeding. As a matter of fact, for those of you who might remember the debate that I had with Dave Smith 2 years ago, the biggest gotcha, the biggest slam was when I said you should have more neocon friends than people who disagree with you so that you can learn from their arguments so you can have better, sharper, stronger libertarian arguments. The joke, the big own was, you need fewer neocon friends. Of course, the intention of that is you're supposed to be more ignorant and less connected to those around. We are so isolated intellectually here in the United States, but they're not in Argentina. They have a clear moral code. Javier Milei says Iran is an enemy. Israel is saving Western civilization. Well, no shit. No shit. And what am I supposed to do? Who am I supposed to believe? My biggest banger tweet going on right now this morning, getting shared, making the rounds, is that I'm beginning to lose confidence in the geopolitical analysis of American comedians. I mean, no shit. Sorry, Austin, I'll listen, says Drew Van Runkle. Well, that's all you had to say, bud, because if you're willing to listen, that's all I ask. Just listen. It is the mark of an educated mind to entertain a thought without necessarily accepting it. So entertain some dangerous thoughts. Consider these thoughts before you jump into them immediately and say, oh, well, I have to believe all of these things immediately. You know, don't resist the urge to jump into the cyanide flavored Kool-Aid that is being drunk by so many people. And we are so manipulated by foreign powers, by domestic powers, with grifters, with fakers, with falsifiers, with bullshitters, with misinformation, disinformation, with Nazis, true neocons who don't care anything about the United States and who do put the U.S. second. Let's just hear a point of view today from an America First, Make America Great Again, libertarian Republican like me. First of my kind, best of my kind. You see? And so this is why you're not going to find me singing Kumbaya while Tehran stockpiles uranium like it's Black Friday. Kumbaya, my lord. If only all got together and with our crystals and we went down to the store and we smoked some weed, then people wouldn't hate us because we'd just be sitting there smoking weed and everything would be fine. If we just don't bother them, they'll leave us alone. Said anyone who's never been bullied or punched in the face before. Now, here's what you need to know from the ground. Trump didn't just act. He waited. He warned. He gave them deadlines. And then when Iran flipped him off and doubled down on the bomb dreams, he hits back. Not because he wanted war, but because they do. Let's get something straight. The same people who are now crying World War III are the ones who told us to trust a nuclear deal with terrorists who chant death to America and they hide centrifuges under mountains. These geniuses thought that they had a good faith agreement, not a terrorist coupon booklet. Right? Iran didn't abandon peace. They never bought into it. They played the West. They played us like a fiddle until someone, chong, finally cuts the strings. Now, let's talk about how we got here. You remember Tulsi Gabbard, right? Let's give it up for Tulsi. Tulsi has always been not somebody I've always agreed with on things, but a consistent, principled, anti-war, dovish voice. Now, and she had said, remember, she had told Congress before that Congress wasn't building a bomb, but she left out the part where they were enriching uranium at record levels, hiding facilities underground, and preparing to go from 60% to weapons grade in under 2 weeks. That's not a peaceful energy program. That is a bomb in the oven. And here is the thing, the way I feel about the Tulsi Gabbard equation. She is the canary in the coal mine. Does everybody know what the canary in the coal mine means? Back in the old days, when the miners would go down deep, they didn't have sophisticated instruments to be able to tell when there were dangerous gases that were venting. And if you were down there and you didn't have an indicator, well, then you could die because you would inhale dangerous gases. Well, a canary was brought down because its lung capacity being smaller, it would die if there were dangerous or poisonous gases down in the mine, which was the canary in the coal mine. To me, Tulsi Gabbard would be the canary in the coal mine. If Tulsi Gabbard had resigned 2 weeks ago or a few weeks ago or maybe last week or the day before the bombing, if she had resigned or if she had resigned now, I would have seen that as a canary in the coal mine moment. Uh-oh, something's wrong. Trump's not being honest with us. The national security apparatus under Pete Hegseth and others at the Department of Defense are being dishonest with us, and we need to pay attention because Tulsi has integrity. And there are a lot of libertarians who say, and maybe they're right, I have to admit, you can't know, she is the top spy. You have to always be willing to accept that it's possible that Tulsi Gabbard, in a just a few months has suddenly become a pawn and tool of the deep state. I'm not saying that it's not the case. I don't know. However, I'm a trust but verify type of person. Tulsi Gabbard has earned my trust. Tulsi Gabbard has earned my trust. And if she had quit, I would have seen that as a canary in the coal mine moment. That's just my take on it. Maybe you disagree. I'm sure many of you do. When I talk about these issues, it makes libertarians very unhappy. But it's not a real libertarian moment, because to say not a real libertarian is to eject Javier Milei, Ayn Rand, me, and so many others from the movement who just happen to disagree with the Kool-Aid drinking American libertarians on foreign policy who sleep under the umbrella of the protection of those with dangerous men with guns. And I just happen to think that just like pampered college students on campuses have luxury beliefs, I think libertarians in the United States also have luxury foreign policy beliefs. Joni Rankin says, I stand with Massey. I stand with Thomas Massey too, but I don't agree with Dave Smith or Thomas Massey or Justin Amash on another fruitless quest with the Democrats to impeach the President of the United States for taking actions that may be maybe legally dubious, maybe, and I say maybe, constitutionally dubious, but which are not morally dubious, because have I not always said that there is a difference between what is moral, what is legal, and what is constitutional, and ne'er the twain shall meet. Now, the media, of course, they're foaming at the mouth, except for some of the usual suspects that we think might do so. I mean, I was kind of shocked when I saw Van Jones on CNN, who never misses a chance to take a shot at the president, when he said this.
He's buying himself some time in some room. I was also in the Holy Land very recently. I think progressives underestimate how dangerous Iran is. Iran is not a normal country. Normal countries don't blind women because they showed some hair.
Thank you.
They don't empower little gangs and proxies to surround a country and fire rockets and rape people. So Iran...
He's talking about the Houthis there. He's talking about the gangs that they empower. Remember, Houthis do attack the United States, right? They have proxies, right? There's a blindness on American libertarians on the proxies that Iran uses. See, they don't attack directly unless it's Israel, because they know they get their shit pushed in. When they use proxies, and they have killed Americans, and they've done it in Iraq, and they've done it in Afghanistan. If you lived in the 1970s, maybe you remembered 444 days of a hostage crisis.
The two things are clear. The what, they cannot have a bomb, and the why, because they say death to America, death to Israel, and death to all the Jews. One of those should offend you if you're progressive. At least one should offend you.
Remember, everybody's a genocidal maniac. George W. Bush is a genocidal maniac. Now Trump's a genocidal maniac. Israel's Bibi Netanyahu. They're all genocidal maniacs. They're all genocidal maniacs, except for the genocidal maniacs who say death to America and death to all the Jews. They're not it's peaceful energy program for the people. Use windmills. I hear those are great. Of course, the media likes it better when presidents beg tyrants for treaties. They hand over pallets of cash, and then they call that diplomacy. What Trump did was to restore deterrence. Every once in a while, you have to shove a nerd in a locker, right? He reminded the world that there is still a sheriff in town, and the sheriff doesn't blink. And let me be very clear. Trump's action was not a betrayal of liberty. It was not. It was a defense of it. You don't preserve freedom by letting blackmailers dictate the terms. All weekend, we're hearing now they might activate the Iranian sleeper cells. Can I ask you guys a question? I'm just going crazy over this, and I got to know how you feel. In the chat, send me a text. If they have sleeper cells that are already here, say that now Iran, they're going to retaliate. I've seen many libertarians and leftists saying, now they're going to activate the sleeper cells that they have in the United States. If they have sleeper cells already planted here, ready to do acts of terrorism, isn't that a good argument that, one, they can't have a bomb, and then two, that there is no case for non-interventionism? Am I going crazy? What is the case for non-intervention if they already have terrorists here? It's a confusion. This isn't warmongering. This is moral clarity. This brings us back to our confusion. If you think America should never act overseas, even when facing existential threats, you're not defending liberty. You're abandoning it. A world where Iran or Russia or China set the rules at the Straits of Hormuz, or international shipping, or which countries can do business with who and which industries can survive and thrive. That is a world where liberty dies, screaming to thunderous applause. And I didn't sign up for that. Coming up next, I'm going to preview my interview. Tony Manetti here, but first, a word from our sponsor. You're going to want to hear this. Social media is keeping us apart, and it's silencing us. You all know quite well how often I have been silenced. It functions more as a steam valve than as a place for connection. It's a place for us to complain and argue and say you're not a real libertarian and stay distracted. It feels fake, right? But the Connector app is a map. It is a map-based social networking that is designed to help you level up your life by upgrading your peer groups. Now we can network intentionally like the 1% do. Searchable keywords in each profile are used to find exactly who you need for friends, romance, and business connections. The Connector app has no algorithms, no shadow bans, and no unreasonable censorship. Sounds good. Read blogs from your contacts, receive money in your crypto wallet, get information about events before they happen, even while you're traveling, which happens to me quite frequently. I'm in a town and I've got an extra day and I'm looking for something to do. Early adopters like you are going to receive a share of a 5% revenue pool every month in the future as they build their wallet and build this platform. You can get in early. It's created by libertarians so we can get back to reality, not in app stores. Go to connector.app. That's connector.app. Connector.app. Find your kind on a map. There you go. We'll be right back with Tony Manetti. What's it like to ride 36 hours from Missouri to Iran? Where do you go pee-pee? How do you eat? What's it like? Does the plane fly itself? We're going to talk to Tony Manetti when we get back. It's the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
The trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little...
Let me follow up on a phrase you just word, weaponization ambitions. Are you saying there that the United States did not see intelligence that the Supreme Leader had ordered weaponization?
That's irrelevant. I see that question being asked in the media. That's an irrelevant question.
No,
they have
that is the key point in U.S. intelligence assessment. You know that.
No, it's not.
Yes, it was.
No, it's
that
not.
The political decision had not
I know
been
that
made.
better than you know that, and I know that that's not the case.
But I'm asking you whether the order was given.
And the people who say that, it doesn't matter if the order was given. They have everything they need to build nuclear weapons. Why would you bury things in a mountain, 300 feet under the ground?
Right.
Why would you bury why do they have 60% enriched uranium? You don't need 60% enriched uranium. The only countries in the world that have uranium at 60% are countries that have nuclear weapons because they can quickly make it 90. They have all the elements. They have. Why do they have a space program? Is Iran going to go to the moon? No, they're trying to build an ICBM.
No, but
so
that's a
one day
question.
put a
That's a
warhead on
question.
it.
That's a question.
All right, I've seen enough, man. He just crushed her. Jeez, that was... Hey, Marco Rubio needed to go to Congress to get authorization for the declaration of war. You just laid on Margaret Bennett. Good morning. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. We're glad and thankful to have you here. Click the like button and drop a comment. And don't forget, of course, click the follow button if today's your first time watching the Wake Up America show. How could I talk about have an opinion on this? Everybody says, Austin, you didn't serve in the military. You can't have an opinion on this. You got to have... okay, well, I thought civilians were in charge of the military. But you know what? Fine, I'll shut up and let a veteran of the American military, a man who served honorably and flew the B-2 from Missouri 36 hours and back, is Tony Minetti. He's joining us live right here on now and on camera. Good morning, Tony Minetti. How are you doing today, friend?
I'm doing great, Austin. And you are a patriot, and I follow you, and you're just a wonderful human being, too. And keep speaking your voice. A lot of people need to hear all points of view in America.
I think so, too. That's kind of the difference between us and the left, is that over on the right, there is a whole spectrum of political views and opinions, where on the left, they're like drones and hornets that can't think for themselves. They're all serving the queen and bringing her slime and sludge to drink, Hillary Clinton with her bloated carapace, but that's a discussion for later. Tony, what's it like to fly in a B-2 and ride in there for 36 hours? How do you go to the bathroom?
That's probably one of the most asked questions. There is a little bit of a toilet. It's a small cockpit, and we try to use it diligently, if you don't mind me saying, because when you're in the airplane for that long, you're not focused really on the bathroom or sleep, and you're focused on the target. And that's who we are as B-2 stealth warriors. And I'm very proud of the 509th and how they were able to execute this mission flawlessly. But I assure you, it's because they train the way they fight, and our nation provides our warriors with some of the best equipment in the world. No other military can do what we just did.
It's certainly true, and that's why Israel probably was able to talk us into it, because they didn't have the kind of bunker-busting bombs, and they couldn't deliver them, because the only ones that can do that are flown right here from Missouri, Tony. So tell us a little bit about this mission as you understand it, because there's still a lot of information that hasn't come out. Of course, the pro-Iran side are saying, they just nothing to see here. Everything's fine. A little bit of Baghdad Bob. Everything's okay. But some of the pictures show utter devastation. Do you believe that we got it or that we didn't? What do you think is the situation?
I love the way you just phrased that question. Nothing to see here. Next, please. Because that's exactly what the B-2s do, right? We come in, a lot of times we come in alone and unafraid. On one of the missions I went on, it was very top secret at the time. We went in completely alone and unafraid with no other support assets. And we validated stealth works, by having global reach, global power. The fact that we can strike from the homeland, air refuel a couple times, stealthing up, and then hit the targets, and then RTB, return to base, is pretty amazing. And I can tell you from one of the guys that's actually done it, I remember landing, going home. My wife didn't even know I was on this mission because it was so top secret. I turn on the news and there's CNN showing that these targets had been hit by Tomahawk missiles went along. It was me and this other crew members that did it. And then she asked me to go cut the lawn. And I said, what a way to fight a war. No, I do believe, to answer your question, Austin, of course, we have the 57, which can penetrate and then get down deep. And I remember testing with those weapons back in my days when I was flying the B-2. I was there for 15 years. And what a wonderful team. And the 509 was able to deliver bombs on target on time. It was what I call bow tie. Yeah, I think we successfully accomplished the mission. I'm glad that we spent more than 2 bombers and put multiple bombers on target to ensure, the desired effect, because that's all we're focused on as B-2 pilots, the target and how do we achieve our precision engagement.
So should we assume then that Iran's nuclear capabilities have been diminished?
Clearly, not only diminished, I would say, indefinitely, and especially in that area. And I think the B-2s were able to successfully accomplish the mission. Like I said, we did multiple strike packages on it, so it wasn't just one bomber. It's now being reported by the media that we launched 2 ship and put 1 going to Guam while simultaneously sending 7. And when you multiply 2 times 2, you got a lot of bombs on target.
Tony, now inside of me there are 2 wolves. One is more Thomas Jefferson, more dovish, more non-interventionist, more focus on the United States. The other wolf is George Washington himself, commander-in-chief of the armed forces, a man who said, if you want peace, prepare for war, CV pacem para bellum. And these 2 wolves fight one another when it comes to issues like these, from an ideological perspective, from the question of what is the proper use of force in a situation? What is the proper, legitimate, lawful authorization of the president to conduct these kinds of strikes? I'd like to know your thoughts, Tony, as a former B-2 pilot who would be engaged in this, whose life would be in danger to conduct this kind of a raid or a mission. What, do you believe that it is the lawful, necessary, legal authority of the president of the United States to be able to engage in a strike such as this one? Or do you believe that he should have sought a congressional authorization, a declaration of war? What is your take on it?
Yeah. Your listeners will probably find it hard to believe, but I'm speaking the truth to power. I don't believe I've fought in multiple wars, Desert Storm and other ones. I mean, we did the Libya raid under Barack Obama, and we did Clinton with Serbia. I mean, there are so many various contingencies out there and our precedents, on how we've been engaging in all these wars, endless wars where devastation results. And I'm actually of the mindset that the last war we should have been in was World War II. We needed to kill Hitler and the Nazis and, the Emperor of Japan. So I'm one of these guys that I don't debate policy. If I'm a warrior, I put bombs on target on time and defend the Constitution. But I'm more inclined to seek, obviously, a declaration of war. If we're going to go to war, say in the Ukraine, well, let's go all in and get involved. But if we're not, who's funding all of this? Who profits from it? As to our president, we elected him because I strongly believe that he is a peacemaker at heart and he wants peace through strength. I don't think he's excited about this. I just saw that he was taking, advice from Bannon, who was an opposing point of view, and then others, which saw Iran as a threat. And the fact is, the Iranian regime is known for a huge sponsor of terrorism. And so we can't have a sponsor of terrorism having a nuke, because that could have devastating effects in Missouri, So to answer your question, I would prefer if we could, as a nation, stop talking about what a man and a woman is and start talking about what the heck really matters, like our national security, and why don't we have a golden dome over America, preventing other strikes from real enemies that are out there, like potentially China and Russia. And so do I back our president 100%? Because I love the guy. I think he really loves America and he wants to make America great again. And he knew that if he didn't take this action, that now we have a potential terrorist nation having a nuke weapon, and we don't want that. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I'm reluctant to not having a debate as a country on who is the deep state and why the heck are we still funding all these endless wars? You know what I mean, Austin? It's a deep conversation.
Yeah, exactly. And on some levels, I think I absolutely agree with you. You know, again, those two wolves, George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, right? I absolutely identify with the Jeffersonian view when it comes to foreign policy. But even Thomas Jefferson had to send the U.S. Navy to the shores of Tripoli to kill Muslim terrorists. There is this idea that we haven't, like, if we just leave them alone, that they'll leave us alone, which I find rather naive. But or that they need an excuse even to attack us. They don't need an excuse Tony, Islamists don't need any excuse to attack the United States any more than the Democrat-aligned terrorists on the southern border that come in the United States and wave Mexican flags. That they don't need an excuse to burn and loot and destroy cities. They do it for fun. They do it because they believe in it, because it serves their ideological interests. Am I wrong?
No, you're right on target. I really do believe that there's a fundamental shift going on where, you know, you have countries that, such as Iran, that literally hate who we are as Americans, the freedom of speech, the right to bear arms, and our Constitution, really, our ability to have, a choice in religion and what we believe. And when you have a state that's run by, religious zealots, then you have the opportunity for them to inflame this hatred against Americans and what we value most. And I think our president took that all into consideration. We must, expect a response from Iran, and whether it's already happening, whether it's diplomatic, closing the Straits of Hormuz. I mean, we're talking about unleashing terror cells potentially. And of course, affecting our warriors that are stationed in that region.
Sure.
So Middle East peace.
You bring up a good point there, Tony, and I hate to interject, because when you talk about activating cells, the idea of non-intervention, that that we should be involved in fewer wars or be less involved in the United States, that argument is defeated by the concept of sleeping terror cells. So I guess, one, do you believe that there are sleeper cells of terrorists, Iran-linked terror cells here in the United States, either currently doing harm, maybe through hacking or other methods, or preparing to do physical harm? Do you believe that they are here? And if so, doesn't that sort of defeat the argument for non-intervention?
That's an outstanding point. And I've been trained as a warrior from Air Command Staff and Joint Force College to think like the enemy. And if you were the enemy, what would you defeat? What would you do to defeat the great Satan? The way they word it. And clearly they would embed, terror cells. But I think the real enemy is yet to reveal himself. I think what we should be cautious on is other superpowers that have nuclear weapons and the ability to strike. And that's why I'm a strong supporter of the Golden Dome and having the ability to protect our country, and a strong defense that gives us this skill and hyper speeds and stealth and precision engagement to defeat enemy forces. Let's not forget that Biden, Harris, and our borders let in tens of millions of people. And if I was the enemy, I would have them come in through the border, because everyone's welcome. And now they could pre-position themselves. That's why you need the right to bear arms, ladies and gentlemen. Do not let anyone take away your right to bear arms. And I would have your head on a swivel. And if you see something, say something, because, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean,
now's a good time to carry, is what you're saying.
Amen, brother.
Always is a good time to carry, we say on the Wake Up America show. Damn it, we love our right to bear arms here, Tony. You're among friends. And speaking of friends, my lovely wife Stephanie says, hard to believe Austin ran against Tony in 2018, and now they are friends. How fun. It is funny how that works that way, isn't it, Tony?
You are, I have some regrets, Austin, and some of them was that. And I've always respected you. Let's not forget, I did something like 114 Jefferson shows, and went to all these conventions, and Josh Hawley appeared at one.
Yeah, that was a lesson learned for me, because you know what, Tony, I don't have any plans to run for office again. But if I do, I'm not going to any Lincoln days. I'm going to spend every dime I have on television and radio ads, because that appears to be the only way you can get into people's homes and get elected.
Hey, Austin, who can we not criticize in America? Who can we not criticize? That's what I learned when I ran for the U.S. Senate. And that is, you have strong lobby groups, and many of them are owned, and there's always two sides of the story. If you're in Russia, you can't talk bad about Putin. If you're in China, you can't talk bad about the Communist Party. Same with North Korea. You can't talk bad about Kim Il-sung, whatever the heck his name is. You know what I'm saying? Well, in this country, we have influence, and a lot of it is from the Jewish state. I'll be honest with you, man. And there's a lot of Zionists out there that they wanted nothing more for us to do than get in there and put bombs on target to get in this war. And there's a lot of people listening right now that know what I'm talking about. And we got to stop this nonsense.
I think I agree, right? I think I agree.
Stop influencing the media.
I mean, I think I agree, Tony. I think I agree with you to a certain extent, but it's kind of like with Winston Churchill in World War II. He had every incentive to want to get the United States in because he's fighting an existential crisis. And I've got a really good clip of Nixon talking about like conflicts between the United States and Israel in terms of, are our interests truly aligned? And the truth is, of course, is that sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. But as far as the greatest threat in the United States, it's probably not the Israeli lobby. If you're talking about the people that you can't criticize, it's the gay race communists that run the diversity, equity, and inclusion programs here in the United States. Those are the real power in the United States you can't criticize.
I'm in agreement that but there's a lot more people saying enough, and we're going to speak up for truth. We can define what a woman is. You could reproduce a baby. Next, please. And merit matters. But I am concerned that there's not enough dialogue in our media. What the terrorists did against Israel on October 7th was unquestionably evil. They killed 2,000, but since then, over 55,000 Palestinians have been killed. Men, women, and children. And you don't hear about that in the media. All I'm saying is we should have that dialogue. And I love the fact that our president is trying to bring peace to the region. And we have to look at both sides of the story. And my concern is that the media is owned with a certain narrative. And if you get off that narrative, you're labeled an enemy. That's what they do with the transgender thing. As soon as you say truth, no, a man is a man and a woman is a woman. Oh, you're a transphobe, they label you. And we're tired of that nonsense, man. And that's all I'm saying is for our listeners to get involved and start electing people that are not career politicians. People like Austin, you and I won't run again because we see how corrupt and evil it is. And you know what? I sleep well at night, but I also love our country. And it bothers me when I see, these types of discussions happening without, careful thought. I do back our president in his decision to strike. And I think we should get behind him, but we should also expect retaliation from the Iranians and likely a relationship with Russia and China. This could escalate. So I hope our president has a great team, and I'm sure he's doing a great job on managing the crisis.
Tony, you are a retired Lieutenant Colonel. Tony Minetti, former B-2 pilot, and you are the author of the book, The Stealth Way, Live Life Fully. Where can people grab a copy of your book, Tony?
If you just go on Amazon, that's where it's on. It's called The Stealth Way, and I talk about the B2 and the stealth and how you can integrate a lot of our stealth tactics and how we live life fully. And it's really about serving others, excellence, service before self. And you get an insight on how stealth warriors think and operate. It's a great read, and I wrote it with Yvette Kinney. She's an amazing author. And I hope you enjoyed the book.
Absolutely. So grab a copy of The Stealth Way, Live Life Fully over on Amazon.com. That's Lieutenant Colonel Tony Minetti, former B-2 pilot, a great American, a great Missourian, maybe even more important. Thank you very much for your time, Tony, and for getting up early for us. We appreciate it. We hope to talk to you again real soon.
Take care, Austin. God bless. Ciao.
Thanks. Right back at you.
Their belief is that being for Israel first means that does not mean you're putting America second, because they think it goes together. An American president, however, has to approach it in a different way, in my opinion. He's got always to think first of what is best for America. Usually, what is best for America is also best for Israel and vice versa. On occasions, an American president must make a decision that does not, in effect, give the Israelis a blank check. And one example of that is a decision that I made. I decided early on in our administration that we were going to seek good relations with Egypt and others of Israel's neighbors. Many of my Israeli friends didn't like that because they wanted a special relationship with Israel and Israel only. But I have always said Israel's interests are better served to have the United States a friend of Israel's neighbors and potential enemies than to leave a vacuum which the Soviet Union would fill. I still believe that, and I think that should be American policy today.
There we go. That's Richard Nixon discussing the conflict of American interests and Israeli interests. And it is an important discussion, and it is something that we should be discussing, and nothing should be beyond criticism. Everything should be up for debate, including our leaders, and no one should be able to have our tacit trust without earning it here in the United States. We talked to Tony Minetti, a retired B-2 pilot this morning, and if you thought that our show had peaked, no, I'm sorry. You'd be wrong. We've got a ton of bunker-busting, great content left for you here. The next hour and 10 minutes, you just heard from a man who's actually flown into the shadow of history and back. A true American warrior. Tony Minetti gave us a glimpse of the discipline, danger, and the duty behind the missions that just wiped Iran's nuclear program off the map. This is not a video game. This is the United States Air Force turning presidential resolve into strategic reality. Now, that clip we just watched, Richard Nixon, love him or hate him, talking decades ago about the tension between American interests and Israeli interests. And while some might want to frame these two as mutually exclusive, what we've just seen in the past 72 hours proves otherwise. Nixon talked about Egypt, about the lessons of 1973. And then here's the thing, of course, America, when they lead with strength, peace follows. When we hesitate, people die. Trump didn't just act for Israel. He acted for the West, for our military bases, for the stability of an entire region, and yes, for American credibility, which has been in the ICU since the Afghanistan withdrawal debacle. There's a difference between acting in interest alongside our allies and then being dragged into quagmires. Not every country is Iraq. The strikes on Iran were not a neocon pipe dream. They were a hard, calculated act of deterrence. And that's where the foreign policy debate in the right gets messy. Do you remember when Trump was compared to Andrew Jackson, and it was compared to a Jacksonian era of populist democracy? Well, what did you think Jacksonian democracy meant? Vibes, memes, papers, essays? No, Andrew Jackson was a rough-riding old hickory bastard who shot people himself, quite a few. And if he had shot, and here's the joke that I just made up, is that Andrew Jackson did shoot people on Fifth Avenue, and it did make him more popular. So if Trump did that, maybe if he loses any approval ratings for the Iran bombing, maybe he could have a duel on the White House lawn. What do you guys think? Will that do it? Send us a text, 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. Because there are some people on the paleocon right and the anti-war left who just don't get it. They see every action that the Americans take abroad as imperialism. But I do not believe in the moral neutrality between a free society and a theocracy that stones women and funds terror. And neither does my next guest. Colonel Rob Maness will be joining me next. He's a decorated Air Force veteran. He's a former U.S. Senate candidate. He's one of the clearest voices on liberty and national security. We're going to talk about how libertarians should respond to this moment. We're going to what it means when the enemies of America take a gut punch like this, and how to draw the line between principle and cowardice. So don't go anywhere. Colonel Rob Maness is next.
92 million. 92. What do you think is going to happen? Not what you want to happen. What do you think is going to happen?
Let's make sure he knows what's going on first. You know the population of Iran?
The population of the Death Star. He now knows. Everybody knows. 92 million.
General McChrystal just told us 92 million Iranians are all jonesing for a nuke.
No, that's ridiculous. The reality here that people, if you want to understand Iran versus other places, is the people of Iran, the Persian people, the Kurds, the others there, they're much more natural allies of the Jews, of USA. of the West. This was a very modern country before it was conquered by these insane theocrats.
That's exactly what I was saying.
That's a very important point to understand.
They were going to throw flowers at us in Iraq. That never happened.
Yeah, well, and I'm not saying they're going to throw flowers at us here, but this is a lot different situation, and it's I work with a lot of amazing Persian people. I'm really excited to invest in Iran if we can get this country to be some sort of republic, not run by crazy
no, that's it. The evil capitalists, they're going to invest.
people, and that's a lot easier than doing that in Afghanistan or somewhere else.
Well, so how much do you think this is about? We were talking to the Minister of the Economy in Israel. Is it about regime change, like full-on regime change in Iran, versus just eliminating the nuclear threat?
Well, it's very clear that this administration says it's about eliminating the nuclear threat. That's their goal. I respect that. When we attacked Iraq 20 years ago, even then I thought it was a mistake versus going after Iran. Iran's clearly a really evil regime. So I've been against the Iranian regime. I've been for freeing Iran for a long time. That is not what this administration says they're doing, and I respect that. I think it is critical we get rid of the nukes.
Okay, so from what you know, as somebody who I think of as inside the defense industrial complex, there's a question, this is actually a very technical question, just about these buster bunker bombs. Do you think that they could actually do the job? Because that is the fundamental question that I think Trump is trying to figure out. If it works, I think he may do it. If he's convinced that it may not work, it's a different question.
I'm told that they do the job. It seems to me there's no reason they shouldn't be able to do it. The other thing you can do is you can hit things multiple times, which is right.
We'll talk a little bit more about that when we get back with Colonel Rob Maness, former Air Force pilot, military service member, American hero, and, like me, a libertarian Republican. We'll hear what he has to say about the conflict. Does he think that Trump should be impeached? Answer that when we get back on the Wake Up America show. It's the For Liberty Network. Almost to $75 raise, guys. Hit that bonus content.
When the Founding Fathers dreamed of liberty, they forgot one thing: coffee. Introducing Founding Flavors Coffee, the brew that built America, and the brew that's fueling a new revolution, one kitchen at a time. Small batch roasted, Patriot approved, and disappearing faster than a red coat at Yorktown. Don't get left behind, soldier. Real patriots are starting their mornings with Founding Flavors, and trust us, freedom tastes better with a fresh cup in your hand. Stop drinking those tyrant brews who take your money and don't support your values. Stocks are limited, demand is booming, and your morning deserves a taste of liberty. Order now at forlibertyshop.com before the next shipment gets signed, sealed, and sold out. Founding Flavors Coffee, the official brew of morning rebellions everywhere. Get yours at forlibertyshop.com.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
And what is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan.
Objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier.
Oh boy. Don't pick a fight with that guy. Good morning. Rise and freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. We're so glad to have you here. Thanks so much for joining us. Click the like button. If today's your first time watching the Wake Up America show and you're saying to yourself over on X, man, I'd love to hang out in the comments section. All of the chatters and commenters are hanging out over at Rumble, rumble.com/AP4Liberty. That's where all my friends are. So why don't you come hang out with us? People like Drew Van Runkle, my lovely wife, Stephanie for Liberty, and Joni Rankin, Sputnik 11, Steelbringer, and so many others. Join us at rumble.com/AP4Liberty. So I just got done speaking to Tony Minetti. He's a Missourian. He's a former B-2 pilot. And I said to myself, we need more expertise, but less from the conservative Republican side of things and more from the Liberty Republican side of things. So let's go get a B-1 pilot. He flew the bone, Colonel Rob Maness. Everybody stand and salute for a good friend of me, the good friend of the United States, the good friend of Liberty. Good morning, Colonel. How are you, sir?
Hey, good morning, Austin. It's good to be with you. One slight correction. I was a weapons systems officer, what's known as a backseater in the B-1, but I commanded the 9th Bomb Squadron, and I appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much for the correction, sir, and for your service, Colonel. And you've been a tireless advocate for the principles of liberty, which I think is an important discussion this morning because, of course, I come from the Ron Paul libertarian wing of the Republican Party, but yet I tend to differ with the Ron Paul libertarian Republican wing on when it comes to foreign policy. And that's from 20, 25 years of activism as such. I'm a little bit concerned that from an ideological perspective that, well, I don't know how to say this lightly, but it appears to me that there's a moral bankruptcy in our movement, Colonel, and I wonder if you see it or agree with it or disagree with it, however you feel.
I do see it, and quite frankly, I'm concerned too, Austin. You know, I refer to myself sometimes as a constitutional conservative and a liberty-minded Republican, since I'm in the Republican Party and have only run as a Republican candidate for office here. That's kind of the way I try to bracket folks so that they understand where I'm coming from in my way of thinking. And that is the Constitution was written in such a way that the body closest to the people would be the ones that would be responsible for declaring war, but the commander-in-chief of the armed forces is the entity, the individual that the people and the states all vote for. And that is very important to understand in this discussion, because as the commander-in-chief, since we have a standing standing army, and when I say army in this context, I mean the Department of Defense, the armed forces. Since we have a standing army, the commander-in-chief has at his disposal the ability to defend the country when attacked and take action when a threat to the country is rising to the point where it looks like we're going to be attacked. And it doesn't have to be an existential threat, but I think that presidents today should really deliberate in a manner as such that where they are assessing these types of threats, and they have to have really good intelligence, and it should be a really big, giant threat if you're going to take the massive amount of force that we just saw and energize the entire country's armed forces. And believe me, every service was involved in some way in this operation that just occurred in Iran over the weekend. So that's my threshold right there. The two questions that I asked in this particular case was, does it have to be the United States to do this? And then second is about timing. And what is the existential threat to the United States, not to our forces that are deployed to the region? And I've been advocating that most of those forces, especially the ground troops, should be removed from there. There's no strategic value to them. They're only targets right now, and you can see that playing out on the world stage today. So we have some work to do in that regard. But I'm talking about the existential threat. And what I mean by that in the nuclear world, look, I've done a lot of work in the nuclear weapons space. I was the Pentagon's executive oversight for NATO's nuclear command and control operations. I co-wrote the first theater nuclear war plan when I worked at the Pentagon. I was qualified to deliver nuclear weapons in the B-1 bomber. I've commanded a B-1 bomber squadron, as I mentioned. So I understand this space of nuclear weapons. My last job had the biggest nuclear operation in the world at it from a infrastructure perspective. So that's where I'm coming from on this. And in this space, the timing of it is important. The Israelis, obviously, and I'm making assumptions because I don't have any insight. I have no security clearance now, haven't had for 10 years, that they must have picked up some intelligence that shows that the Iranians have a warhead and they're beginning the process of mating it to a missile that's capable of reaching their territory. That's why people may hear me say, look, this is an Israeli first operation. They have a responsibility and a duty to defend themselves from an Israeli first operation perspective. I was glad they started this operation. I've been calling for that type of action by them since October 7th, 2023, quite honestly.
Colonel, this is fantastic insight and commentary. I hate to interrupt you, but I had a couple questions based on things that you said. One was the question of, the personnel inside of the White House, specifically Tulsi Gabbard. And I have a theory, and I wonder how you feel about it, which is that Tulsi Gabbard to me would be a sort of a canary in the coal mine. If she had quit her job a couple of weeks ago or a month ago before this had happened, I would have thought perhaps we were being misled, that perhaps Trump was under some malign influence. And the reason why is because Tulsi, who despite not being a libertarian in the past and not being on our side on things like the Second Amendment or major issues, she was always consistently dovish on foreign policy. She was an elected Democrat who took on Hillary Clinton. Some libertarians are accusing her of now being a tool of the deep state because she's staying on board with the Trump White House. She must have signed off on it. A lot of people in D.C. are all about their career, and who would want to lose their job or opportunity and walk away for something like that. So maybe she did become corrupted and has now become queen of the warmongers herself. But I don't think so. I don't think that she would have done something like that. Maybe I'm naive. Maybe I'm getting dumber as I get older instead of wiser, Colonel. What do you think about that theory with Tulsi Gabbard as a sort of a canary in the coal mine?
Well, that gets right to where I was going with the timing of this. Why now for the United States? I asked those hard questions publicly because, look, I'm not in favor of the United States leading with combat force at all. And I'm certainly not in favor of the United States getting into a war. And we did enter a war, no matter what the naysayers about that say. The United States is now in this war. So we enter the war, and I'm not in favor of doing that unless there is a threat that's credible enough and big enough to threaten me right here in Gulfport, Mississippi, where I can see the port that would be a nuclear target in a nuclear war. So I think that the president has probably got some intel that leads him to believe the Israelis are right. And then the next step for Iran is to come after us. And they've been working on being able to fire missiles from shipping containers on ships for quite some time, more than a decade. And all it would take would be to mate that warhead to one of those and then hit New York City or Washington, D.C. And we're there. And I think that's where probably Tulsi is. Look, there's a lot of kerfuffle being made that she read the intelligence community's latest assessment, which came out of the Biden administration in her testimony. But she was asked a direct question and she's bound by law to read that assessment, which said that the IC in the United States doesn't assess that the Iranians are working on a nuclear weapon. I know that is not an accurate assessment. It's been politicized, but she had to read it. She was bound by law to read it under oath there, and wasn't given an opportunity to go into any follow-on details. So I think she saw it or she'd be gone. I'll be honest with you. I think J.D. Vance has seen it too, or he would be gone. That's my perspective on J.D. Vance. That's why I supported both of those people so much in my political operation.
Yeah, and again, you're talking about supporting two very different people ideologically at different ends of the spectrum. Former Democrat and now J.D. Vance, more of a paleoconservative perhaps than like a libertarian like ourselves in many ways. But my next question for you, and this relates back to all the ideology and the philosophy of this one, but the philosophy of non-interventionism sort of requires that they're not intervening with us to an extent. In other words, Rob, if they have sleeper cells here, and I wonder if you think that they do, if they have sleeper cells here, doesn't that sort of destroy the argument for non-intervention?
Yeah. I mean, you nailed it right there, Austin, which is why you and I are pretty much aligned for the most part on foreign policy. And if we ever had to debate an actual decision, we would be able to come together probably fairly quickly. And that is, non-interventionism requires that there not be anything happening to us by our adversaries. That's unfortunately, the world doesn't work that way. And that gets to the thing that's always frustrated me about the libertarian concept and the party itself is that you can follow principle right up until it makes you a smoking hole, is what we say, under a nuclear warhead. I mean, that is dumb, number one. And number two, our job in government is to put the security and prosperity of American liberty first. Think about that. I just characterized that from an America First perspective. American liberty first, our defense and our prosperity. That's the function of the federal government. It's boiled down to a nutshell, and that is what the process should come out to be. And the concept of the principle of non-interventionism, the way the libertarians and Libertarian Party try to operate in it, is not realistic and cannot apply to the real world where real enemies are out there. And yes, I believe there are sleeper cells inside the United States, not only Iranian, but Iranian-supported Venezuelans. They have a very close relationship, and Iranian and Chinese military-age males who came in by the tens of thousands in the Biden administration illegally and are unmonitored. And the Chinese have a very close relationship with the Iranians. So we are in a position here at home that is very dangerous. The DHS just upped the terrorist concern and watch system up yesterday for the first time in many, many years to make sure people are paying attention to their surroundings. That's good.
Yeah, and it strikes me as odd when you talk about the concept of blowback, for example, which is quite frequently trotted out that whenever things like this happen, we're going to receive blowback. We're going to see blowback. But they never answer the question about whether or not blowback goes the other way. Maybe the ass kicking that they're getting is blowback for what they've done to us. I mean, some of us, there are a lot of people now that are born that have strong political opinions that weren't alive when 9/11 happened, Colonel Rob Maness, and they have 700,000 followers on TikTok, and they tend to be quite influential. Quite frankly, though, I'm starting to lose faith in the geopolitical opinions of many American comedians. I kid. It's my own joke for you. But
we still have those.
Yeah, the influencer class seems to have very strong opinions about this, but they all seem to go one way. It seems to be very anti-American, very anti-Israel. Every point of view has to go through a lens of ideology. And as Mark Twain, fellow Missourian, famously said, that get the facts straight first, then you can distort them as you please, which is what I'm begging my fellow liberty lovers here in the United States to do. Put the facts first, then our ideology can come after, and we can discuss about how the libertarian point of view is. But I can't tell you how often I get that I'm not a real libertarian because of foreign policy. And I would have maybe I would have backed down. Maybe I would have thought, maybe it's me and not all the kids are wrong. But the thing that makes me think that American libertarians are fucked in the head on foreign policy is this, Rob. Let me read to you this post. Javier Milei says, Iran is an enemy of Argentina. Israel is saving Western civilization. In a forceful interview with La Nación, Milei declared Iran an official enemy of Argentina. He named its role in the 1992 and 94 terror attacks in Buenos Aires and reiterated his full support for Israel and Netanyahu. Boy, he would get burned alive at the Mises Institute. Milei says Iran wants to exterminate the only democracy in the Middle East. You can't negotiate with someone who wants to wipe you out. He said Israel's war was a battle for the West, claiming the left and Iran's theocracy have aligned in a narrative warfare. He says Israel is attacked for two reasons. It stands for Judeo-Christian values and capitalism. And he says on Iran's nuclear program, if they get the bomb, the world is in danger. And on Israel's airstrikes, he says they're doing the dirty work for all of us. Jesus, that is Javier Milei not a real libertarian, Rob? Can we trot him out of the movement now, too?
Javier Milei is the libertarian. He's made it into office. He's wielding power. He's doing it successfully. I agree with everything he just said. Look, I've been dealing with the Iranian terrorist nation since I was 17 and I enlisted during the hostage crisis. Watched that unfold in a weak America. That if Jimmy Carter had gone in and done what Donald Trump did over the weekend, we wouldn't be dealing with this problem right now. And it's been over and over. I was in the Pentagon on 9/11. I helped put the global war on terror war plan together. I saw the bodies. I helped save people's lives. I smelled like jet fuel and human flesh burning when I got home, to the point where my wife burned my uniform that I was wearing that day. So don't tell me. And then I commanded air forces and I sent airmen and officers in on the ground in places like Fallujah and Afghanistan and Kandahar and all of those places that have been killed by the Iranians, EFP, IEDs. And it's despicable that anybody would say that they're not at war with us. Now, we have not done the right things to be at war with them, or this wouldn't be happening today. And fortunately, we have a president of the United States that has a little bit of insight and vision and enough intelligence to go, man, something's not quite right here. And I think he saw the right things. I don't know for sure, but he answered the big question is why now for me. And Tulsi Gabbard staying is one of the reasons why that answers for me. You kind of got to read the tea leaves here. The bigger question is why us? Because honestly, the Israelis have the capabilities. And the best option on that target, especially the Fort Isle target, was to send a commando raid in, go inside the facility, destroy everything, document it, and remove as much of the highly enriched uranium material that exists still there, and kill as many people as you can and get out. That's the only way to know for sure, because you'll see the media, and the New York Times has got an article out today. Well, what did we really do to it, et cetera, because even though our bombs are greater and better than the Israelis and got it done very quickly, that leaves open when you just do an air attack and you don't actually get eyes on the facility and destroy it by hand. That leaves it open. The question, and there's a lot of bomb damage assessment analysis that's going to go on and on and on and bring all of these different sources of information. They're called the INTs, the intelligence stuff, like measurement intelligence. You know, what was the seismic activity when the bombs went off and those kind of things. Human intelligence is the most important. Until somebody gets eyes on the facility and gets a look inside of there and we can see and verify that information is correct, we're never going to know what we really did to that facility. So the objective that the president set, which is to keep Iran from ever getting a nuclear weapon is still in question because of the type of operation that was selected. But, the president chose to do it. I'm counting on him that he saw some intelligence that triggered his intention to defend us from an existential threat.
Well, I won't ask you to speculate on whether or not you think the job was done. You're talking about the intelligence and the fact that we need to get more information. That reminds me of a conversation I had with someone yesterday about the efficacy of the Mossad, because if there is going to be an intelligence agency that's going to be able to determine the extent of the damage to the nuclear facilities, it's probably going to be the Mossad, not the CIA. Quite frankly, it seems as if our institutions here in the United States have been quite shoddy, which is why I think it's perfectly legitimate or valid for people to call into question the intelligence when it comes to these strikes. It's perfectly valid to ask questions about whether or not proper military authorization is being sought in order to do this, or whether it is an existential threat. And quite frankly, because of the nature of intelligence and classifications, most Americans and the ones who are politically aware are going to ask questions that may never be able to be answered, just simply for national security implications that they might have, which of course leads people to conspiracy theorizing and to make up wild stories. I won't ask you to do that to speculate about whether or not it exists, but can you speak to the efficacy of the Mossad versus the United States? Because all I ever hear about the Mossad is how they're taking over, they're using AIPAC to take over American politicians, and that is, the United States is Israel's bitch. That's what my timeline sounds like. But every time I see the Mossad, they're, instead of like just carpet bombing everything in sight, they can take pagers and put them directly on terrorists' hips and blow up the terrorists individually, which is, if you're gonna fight a war, I mean, what could be more personal or intimate than go straight the enemy themselves? They seem to be a fairly effective organization from what I can tell. Rob, your opinion on the IDF and the Mossad?
Yeah, just to touch on AIPAC first, just 1 second. Look, as most people know, if you're on my social media, I'm a supporter of Israel because for a variety of reasons, and I'm not going to back off of that. But that I've never gotten any money out of AIPAC. They won't even hold a fundraiser for me when I'm running for office.
You're too. So even though you support them, you're not interventionist enough for them.
I'm not being paid.
Yeah, I got it.
In any way whatsoever.
Okay, anyway, good to know.
The Mossad, you know what the real closest existential threat to the United States is those people internally in this country that we talked about a minute ago. But the cartel, the narco terrorists, and those types of operations that are going on our southern border. And I think we should contract out to the Mossad to do our intelligence work, because our intelligence agencies suck. That's why Tulsi Gabbard's there. I wish they would appoint more people like you to help her in the intelligence agencies to fix it, Austin, and like me, because they suck. They suck so bad that they can't even say that the Iranians are developing a nuclear weapons program when it's right before our eyes. You don't bury something under 300 feet of granite, maybe even a half a mile of granite, because you're enriching uranium for peaceful purposes to run your damn reactors for power. Give me a break. Our intelligence agency sucks so bad they should fire everybody in there and rehire retired military that are loyal to not just Donald Trump, but to the Constitution of the United States and the America First policies that he's implementing. That will fix it. But in the meantime, let's contract out to Mossad to do that. And by the way, you can contract out to the IDF to do our intelligence preparation of the battlefield, IPB on that operation. That's an existential threat south of our border, because the job that they have done in this air campaign, I have to tell you, the Desert Storm air campaign was the standard that Dave Deptula and John Warden put together that I flew in that campaign. It was the standard as far as the exceptional ratings. This air campaign is like that campaign on steroids 100 times over. It's unbelievable what the intelligence preparation of the battlefield and the air campaign planners and the infiltrators on the ground of however the Mossad did it and the intelligence folks did it. I don't care to go and speculate on that, but they're there, and it's a phenomenal operation. And I'm not cheerleading war. I'm not a war cheerleader. I hate war. It's the worst thing that human beings can do to each other. It should be a very serious, deliberated decision to get us in there. And fortunately, I do think we have a president that has gone through that process.
Yeah, I saw somebody say that. I can't take credit for it, but I saw somebody say it just seems like, even if you have questions about Trump's policies, it seems like Trump is the only president who's actually taking on some of the big problems that people have been complaining about for years, whether it's immigration, whether it's foreign policy, whether it's, getting cheated and ripped off by China when it comes to the stealing of our intellectual properties, et cetera, et cetera. And Rob, I feel more and more like a man on an island so many ways, with my ideological background to where I am at today. And I'd like to talk to you here for our final conversation in this one. And let's give Rob Manus an applause, guys. Thank you for the generous donation from Andy Opperman in the chat. People are loving my guest today here. And if you really love it, make sure you click that like button. But let's talk about the influencer class here. Talking about feeling ideological isolated. I was discussing Javier Milei earlier and how I really see him as a blessing because he has such a moral clarity that is so morally bankrupt. We have a contrast to the moral bankruptcy we have here in the United States amongst the American libertarians. But so many in the influencer class seem to have flipped into such obnoxiously contrarian views when it comes to foreign policy, like Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens. And, Candace I never listened to or thought was a big brain or anything. But Tucker Carlson, who is, of course, a gigantic cheerleader for the disastrous war in Iraq, now suddenly seems to find he hasn't found like a Russian grocery store that he doesn't love. He hasn't found a grocery cart that takes quarters that you can use to return because apparently the guy's never been to Aldi's. He seems to be talking about doing foreign intelligence agencies' biddings. Like when I listen to Tucker Carlson, it sounds like something that might have been written by Iran's press department. Am I the obnoxious warmongering, bloodthirsty neocon? Because it seems as if there's this strange, and I'll say the word anti-Semitic because I think in Candace Owens's example it certainly is. I'm not accusing Tucker or Dave Smith of such, but it does seem as if the influencer class on this one, the contrarian take, seems to have this obnoxiously contrarian view, which is counter to the West. These are the people who claim to be defending the West, and yet they're doing so by taking narratives, anti-Western narratives. Does that seem? Am I out of sorts? Am I taking crazy pills, or am I smoking too much libertarian, sticky icky? What's going on here, Colonel Rob?
No, you're not. You're just a regular American. That's where you're in Missouri, I think. Still,
yeah.
I'm in South Mississippi on the beach. You can go for Mississippi. It's a small.
We
town,
live in the real world.
Town. Yeah. I mean, we live in the real world, and what you just described is the real world. Look, I'll tell you about Tucker. Look, I'm not a Candace Owens fan. I do think there's some anti-Semitic tendencies there. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell. Anti-Semitism and the definition of it is so soft and gooey. I try not to call people that, but there are some things that kind of get my attention, like when you hear statements like the Jews are controlling Hollywood, or the Jews are controlling the global banking system,
or the Jews are the ones who did 9/11. And they'll say the Jews did 9/11 on one hand, and then they'll say on the other hand that it was blowback, which of course it can't be both. That's some strong cannabis.
Yeah, I'll just set that aside, the anti-Semitic thing aside. I try not to sound like that, but I also don't hesitate to criticize the government of Israel when I think they're making a poor decision. But Tucker and I are aligned on the Ukraine-Russia war for the most part, quite honestly. I am adamantly opposed to America pouring all its resources into that operation. We made huge errors over the years. As you know, America is responsible for the color revolutions that resulted in the crappy Ukrainian government and activities that go on there. And we have a lot to pay for in that regard. So we're pretty aligned on that, but we are totally at opposite ends on this Israel stuff. Israel, what happened on October 7th, 2023, Austin, was the closest thing to a Jewish Holocaust that has happened since the end of World War II. And that's not even hyperbolic. I mean, I like to use hyperbole to get a point across sometimes, but I'm not being hyperbolic. That is exactly how I feel. And Israel should defend itself and call for unconditional surrender for all of its enemies and fight its war until that happens, like we did the Nazis and the Empire of Japan in World War II. That's my focus on.
I'm with you.
That's where I'm at.
I'm with you.
That's where I'm at. So, but what's going on is, look, in Tucker's case, he is an intellectually smart guy. I've been following him a long time. I pay a subscription to his thing after he left Fox, and I'm going to continue to do so. I can disagree with him vehemently about his positions on this, and still go, man, this guy adds value to America and to our intellectual capital in this country and the debate, most importantly. And I'm going to continue to do that. But I'm very concerned that he seems to be coming down on the side of the Iranian regime. Look, I'm on the side of the Iranian people. I had an Iranian cousin that my uncle, who worked the oil fields, found an orphan boy when he was age 11 and adopted him and brought him home. So I've been talking and living Iran for a long, long time. Okay, when I was a boy. So I am with the Iranian people. What's happened over the last 40 plus years since 1979, and these Islamist Nazis and that's what they are, Islamist Nazis, took over that population. They abused them and done all kinds of inhumane and committed crimes against humanity daily. So I am with the Iranian people, but I am adamantly opposed to this regime. And if the Iranian people can rise up, and if it takes a tweet from Donald Trump that says, hey, that says pretty much regime change is a dirty word, but I think it's possible now, and he gives moral support to the Iranian people that are inside the country and outside the country working that issue. That's all they've ever asked for. They've never asked for any support from boots on the ground, and we should never do that. And I can walk that line right there. Tucker apparently can't walk that line, and I don't understand why. Maybe he's lost total confidence in our intelligence community. I know I have. You heard what I said about them. They suck. It's a tool in our toolbox that used to be the best in the world, and it's not anymore.
Yeah, they haven't really been doing a good job since.
That could be the thing, because
they haven't done
from that background.
They haven't really been doing a good job since they took out Che Guevara in Bolivia in 1967. Colonel Rob Maness, you're an American hero, and you're always brave for speaking out on things that sometimes are not popular with the mainstream. And you've always been a friend to liberty and the United States, and a friend to me as well. Colonel, what are you working on these days? Is there anything you'd like to share with our audience or plug before we let you go today, friend?
Absolutely. My show is live Monday through Thursday at 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern. Today is More War Monday, and we got a lot to talk about. I'm going to talk with former Army planner and staffer David Pine, who's the president of the National EMP Task Force, Electromagnetic Pulse Task Force, about the Iran. It's all about Iran today. What the decision was it the right one? What's the objective that's been set? Has the objective been met? When we might know, those kind of things. So you can come in, you can get it on Spaces too, and be part of the live audience. We do a simulcast there and take questions during that. But I've got a book coming out. It's supposed to be the end of December or so, but we're running early on it. It's called What You Can Do About It, because the question I get asked the most from when I was a military commander to when I was a U.S. Senate candidate, and even today as an advocate, is, well, if that's a problem, what can I do about it? Because people want to know, what can I do about it? So we use some things from my lifetime and my experiences to lay down in the book. So far, it's had good reception when I've talked about it. So
we look forward to we look forward to reading the book, Colonel. And of course, since we have to wait for that one, we don't have to wait too long to watch your show, at least. So we'll be watching that one later today. We're looking forward to it. Colonel, thank you very much for your service, and thank you for being so generous with your time and joining us here today. I think everybody really appreciated it.
Thanks, Austin, and likewise. Thanks for your service.
Thank you very much. That's Colonel Rob Maness. Did you guys enjoy it? If so, make sure you click that like button. Come back and join us every Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time on the Wake Up America show. We'd love to have you be a regular guest. It's a 5-day-a-week, 2-hour show, and we would be nowhere if it weren't for rumble.com. If you haven't tried their 1775 coffee, it's fantastic. They have this new starter kit that they want me to share with you guys. They've got a terrific little package put together for you guys to get into their coffee roast. They have a mushroom coffee, which I think Drew Van Ronkel is really going to like. It's not those kinds of mushrooms, though, Drew. Don't get too excited, but try it. It comes with single origin, small batch, toxin and mold-free coffee, plus a gold spoon clip because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. They've got a black 1775 tumbler. It's part of the kit. $170 worth of coffee and gear. Yours for $100. Go to 1775coffee.com. That's 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. 1775coffee.com/studio. Thank you, Rumble, for supporting the Wake Up America show, because you might as well be supporting freedom. You can send us a text today anytime you like, really. 573-319-1586 is the text line, and that text line's open anytime, day or night. We check that voice line. Sometimes I'm watching a movie on a Friday night, scratching my butt, sitting with the heating pad on my back because I'm old, drinking a little whiskey, Jameson whiskey, and checking out the voicemails and the voice text, voice to texts and the text that you send at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. Hit that text line anytime, night or day. You want to talk to me, you want to talk to Steffi, you want to send a little note of well wishes to little baby Hazel, you can do so, again, at the phone number that you see at the bottom of the screen. Just save it into your phone so you don't have to worry about it. Looks like we've got a lot of great people watching the show this morning. We're popular on X. We're popular on Rumble. I don't think we got featured even over on rumble.com. Maybe I'm wrong. But 270 people watching naturally, organically, the Wake Up America show for me is a huge pleasure and a delight and a treat. And if you would like to watch the Wake Up America show and see more great guests like what you've just seen, then click the follow button before you leave today. When you're on Rumble and you click the follow button, you'll get a notification when this show goes live, which is every 5, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central. Become a regular guest. And maybe you'll even make friends with people like Matt Unruh, Drew Van Runkle, my Mushroom Man, Luke Sacker, Grizz Cheese, Wyo Wildman, the lovely Camellia Peterson, Sputnik 11. Nice to see you, bud. We love new friends, making new friends. Luke Sacker and so many others over in the chat. And drop a Rumble rant. If you said to yourself that the content that you just heard was valuable and worth, just drop in a Rumble rant of what you think it was worth, or maybe visit forlibertyshop.com. That's the For Liberty Shop at forlibertyshop.com. You can also get our delicious coffee, our patriotic roasts, and our delicious teas, and our awesome 4th of July merchandise. Let's get it before the 4th. We're going to have a great July. We've got so much coming up. I know you guys want to hear about the documentary. Do you see the film clacker back there? I hear this was me for the last 3 days. Rolling, scene 34, take 2, martini shot, final shot. Austin Peterson, director, David Watson, the cameraman, night shot, and rolling sound, rolling speed, rolling cameras, and action. The Battle of Athens documentary. It's where your Rumble rants are going. Support independent filmmakers telling patriotic stories of American history. A fantastic 3 days spent in the beautiful Boonville, Missouri, recreating the Battle of Athens, the last successful armed insurrection in American history. If you want to see that documentary, make it to maybe even the big screen, depending on how big we get and how lucky we get, depending on what happens, or maybe on a streaming platform near you. Support the Battle of Athens documentary in our final stage as we head into the edit. It was a fantastic, just unbelievable 3 days, of which I had a talented cast and crew come together to recreate for a documentary that will be completed this year. Thank you very much for everybody who supported it already, and please continue to do so. Let's change topics for a minute. Let's talk about the Wake Up America show, where the coffee is hot, the takes are hotter, and the cost of driving to work, if I drove to work instead of working it out of my shoe closet, might just send you into cardiac arrest. I've been going through this incredible piece on America's toxic relationship with cars. Yes, vehicles, cars, right? And let me tell you, it's not a love story anymore in the United States. It's a full-blown episode of Car Maury. You are not the owner of your car anymore. You're a hostage with Bluetooth. According to the latest data, the average American car is 14.5 years old, which is the automotive equivalent of you still living with your ex who broke your heart, stole your money, and keeps blowing out the check engine light like it's a birthday candle. Oh, Sonny. My car is like 12 years old, but it's getting a little bit older. But it gets better. The cost to own a car last year for 2024, it hit a sizzling $12,296. That's right. Just 13 grand, nearly 13 grand, just so you can get to your job, so you can earn money to pay for the car. Which then breaks down, which makes you late for work, which puts you at risk of losing your job, so the cycle can begin again, right? Folks, at this point, you don't own a car. You co-parent with it. You're in a bitter custody battle with your insurance company over who loves it less. And let's not even talk about depreciation, right? Because in the time that it took me to say depreciation, you just lost $40 of value in your car. You want to buy a new car? All right, congrats. You just bought a used car with a diploma in disappointment. So electric cars, they're coming to your garage like a Terminator with a Tesla badge. Yeah, they're sleek, they're silent, and if someone bumps them in a parking lot, well, you've got $58,000 sitting around for repairs. That's not a joke. That's a Cybertruck bill. True story. And let's not forget the engineers who bury $12 plastic parts behind $2,000 dashboards. You know who you are. You never had grease on your hands, but you've got the gall to put a heat vent actuator behind the entire dash assembly. May your next car be French. We used to love cars in America. We used to fall in love with our cars. We named them. We waxed them. Some people even talked to them. But now they ghost us at intersections, they drain our bank accounts, and they report us to the warranty department. So maybe it's time that we face facts, right? This isn't working. It's not you. It's them. It's everything. The cost, the complexity, the constant betrayal. Cars used to be freedom. Now they're financial Stockholm syndromes on wheels. So what's the fix? And I want to hear your thoughts on this. Drop your thoughts in your comments below. What is the fix? Less plastic in the cars? More right to repair? I think a lot of people who are libertarians out there might like that, right? Should we lean into electric vehicles? Or, maybe we should just all start walking like it's 1847 again, but with podcasts. Yes, it's the Wake Up America show. Misa, Yusa, Husa. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that one. Drew Van Runkle says, my car used to be my DD. That's sus. Entrepreneur Nomad says, get a hybrid, the best and worst of both worlds. Luke Sacker says, older cars are better built. Amen. That's why I keep my truck. Somebody the other day, somebody who didn't speak English, and I wondered if they were an illegal immigrant, but I didn't report them to ICE. Boo, Austin, boo. How was I supposed to know? You did a good job laying the fiber line. Immigrants taking our gerbs. But he wanted to buy my truck, and I was just like, no. I was like, because the simple act of him wanting to buy it made me want to keep it more. Has anybody ever felt like that? I guess I can understand those old timers who've got actual nice cars. I got like a 2012 XLT F-150. But just the simple act is like, oh, what's it worth to you? Right? You want more? I got to charge more for my car. But it just feels as if newer cars are scams and traps. The only car that I wrote in recently that made me think I would like this kind of a car was, ironically, an electric vehicle. My buddy Mark in Washington, D.C., he struggles with, a little bit of challenges when it comes to driving on the roads because of anxiety. And so when Tesla came out with a new self-driving car, for him, it was like a miracle, which made me wonder, people who have actual disabilities, people who are blind, people who have never been able to drive a car before because of their disability, or maybe people like our friend Drew who would like a designated driver will benefit greatly from self-driving cars. And I have to say, there is something beautiful about it. Being right now, you're not able to look down, scroll on your phone, do other work while you're on the road. Say you want to drive 2.5 hours. If you have a self-driving car, it's great. It even drives itself to a charging station on the way and pulls in for you and does all of that work. It's unbelievable, fantastic. And soon I hear that the first self-driving car is actually going to be ordered from the factory and drive itself to a person's home that ordered it. Talk about cutting out the middleman. And it's a miracle of modern technology, and God bless Elon Musk for it. But something about me, and maybe it's now that we're starting to all become boomers, I'm a geriatric millennial, I'm not Generation X, but maybe there is something to the idea that older is better. I like the idea of my car not being shut down remotely. I like the idea of not driving my car on a pad. I like having dials that I can adjust things and not have to do them on a touchscreen. You know what? I made a big mistake a couple years ago because I had to have my radio replaced. When I put it in a new unit, they said, "Are you okay with not having dials?" And I didn't even think about how valuable those dials were until I could no longer turn my volume on my car up or down with a simple twist of a dial. You have to tap the screen to get the volume to come up. I hate it. It sucks. It's some commie gobbledygook. Have any of you ridden in a self-driving car to this point? If you haven't, it's definitely worth trying. And do any of you have a strong opinion about older vehicles versus newer vehicles? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this and more by sending us a text at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586 is the text lines. We're open for business. The Wake Up America show streams live Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. And we're glad to be back. We're working on so many exciting projects over here, but I must admit that I am a little, I won't say burnout, but close to burnout. So I might even take a couple of days vacation soon. We'll see. I'm thinking about going down to either the Lake of the Ozarks for 4th of July, which not recommended, but maybe Table Rock Lake. Does anybody want to go out in a houseboat for a day on maybe the day after the 4th of July, that Saturday? Any of my Missouri friends feel like taking a little vacation for maybe a day or two and want to go down to Southwest Missouri, enjoy the beautiful sights and sounds of Kimberling City, send us a text and let us know you'd like to hang out with the Freedom Crew. Let's hang out. Let's get to know each other in real life. Do we really need to just exist behind these screens and pixels? Yes, you can see me now in beautiful 1920 by 1080 full high definition, streaming fast thanks to that illegal immigrant, allegedly illegal immigrant who installed the fiber over here in our house. But should we not enjoy each other, seeing our friends? Baby Hazel Rose's birthday party's coming up, and we've got an invite set up. If you're a friend and you're in the area, feel free to RSVP. We got a slip and slide, dang it. And because I weigh too much, I won't be able to go on it. So I think I'm going to go to Home Depot, buy myself a big old long plastic strip, get myself all lubed up with some Diddy certified baby oil, and just slide down that sucker right next to all the kids playing on the slip and slide. But my gargantuan tail needs a much wider thing. If anybody has any tips on how to build an adult slip and slide, let me know. I have one long green hose that can get over to the hill, and I can probably afford like one roll of plastic tarp to lay down the hill for my daughter's birthday party. Send some tips. Matt Unruh, we'd love to see you again too, brother. Amy J.E. says she wishes she could go. Rare Camellia says she wants to go. Let's go, Camellia. We got a pontoon boat. You want to do it? Let's go to Silver Dollar City on the 4th of July. I know a guy. He might be able to get us in. We'll go see the pigs. We'll see the farm animals. We'll see the chickens. We'll give them a little pet. Hazel can take a look at the goat. Then on Saturday, we can go out on the houseboat and have a good rip-roaring good time. Who wants to go? It's Libertarian Christmas. Barney Styles, T-Mill 22, Steelbringer, Luke Sacker, Matt Unruh, Drew Van Runkle, thanks for joining us here today. Make sure that you've clicked that like button. And let me know if you want to join us for a fun little boat trip the day after the 4th of July. Engineering needs, man, you got a guy, says Andy Yopperman. Let us know. Heavy-duty plastic roll used for paint prep. Luke Sacker, who remembers Action Park. Wasn't that New Jersey, where it was just this wild park that had been set up, and they just defied the safety permitting process, and everybody was getting hurt, and it was this huge deal that they got shut down all the time. Am I getting this wrong? Was it New Jersey? Somebody remind me. Action Park. Hold on. Let me do a little search. Action Park. There was, they did a documentary a number of years ago. Death Trap, Action Park. Oh yeah. Well, they did do a documentary of it. Hold on. Here's the document. Here is the trailer for that documentary.
There's nothing in the world like Action Park.
Baby, let me take you where the action is hot. Action Park.
Man, it was the 80s, and Americans were beautiful in the 80s. Remember before we all got fat and everybody smoked cigarettes and we were still somehow much more healthy? Maybe not.
Park is a true crime story.
What?
As you entered the park, you saw this thing, and you're like, this is real. The engineering behind this, if there was any engineering, was just nuts.
They should have hired Andy Opperman.
Build it higher, make it faster. People control the action.
Combine that with liquor and anything goes.
Yeah.
There were no rules. For a lot of kids, that was heaven.
Yeah, it was a libertarian utopia. And of course, people compare libertarians to children all the time.
Couldn't swim well. Yikes.
I don't think you can understand a place like Action Park if you don't understand the kind of minds that build it.
A lot of people wish they could ignore rules. Gene actually did that.
Yeah.
Nobody would give him insurance, so he created his own insurance company and then insured himself.
Yeah.
It did bring sometimes.
Wait a minute. How does that work? How do you insure yourself? You're just because there's somebody else pays out. It's your own money. Oh wait, was it just for the permitting?
Element. I don't know how many people died at Action Park, but it wasn't just one person.
Electrocuted.
Decapitated.
Caveat emptor, bitch.
Fractured vertebrae, impaled on
Decapitated.
fractured vertebrae, impaled on the bowl, had a heart attack. Nobody should ever be the second person to die in a wave pool.
Shut up. Come on.
Wave pool.
Shut up. See, this is the mindset of the people who shut down. What was the quarry that they shut down in Missouri? Right, where, people died, but what was it, the Johnston Shut-Ins or something like that? It was this beautiful swimming place that everybody loved. And you know who did it? It was Josh Hawley, who shut down our fun. God bless Action Park. Hey, it's the Wake Up America show. Did you guys enjoy the show today? I kind of feel like it was a special day. I feel like the energy, the mojo is back in the room. And it's nice to see when you got such a big audience over there on Rumble and so many viewing us over on X this morning. I think, did we hit number 1 on X? We got pretty close. Number 2. If you're over on X this morning and you enjoyed the show and you say you might like to be a part of this Liberty community over at rumble.com/AP4Liberty, then go ahead and click it, rumble.com/AP4Liberty. If you go to rumble.com/AP4Liberty, you get to join people like Torvarin, who said they voted for Austin over Hawley. Amen, brother. You're my boy, Blue. Steelbringer. Luke Sacker, Nelson65, fellow Jeffersonian, Drew Van Runkle, Andy Opperman, Entropy Nomad, Camellia Peterson, Helping Freedom, Amy J.E.'s, and so many others hanging out over at rumble.com/AP4Liberty. That's rumble.com/AP4Liberty, where Team Mill 22 says going to Thunder Ridge Amphitheater on Sunday for the Willie Nelson Bob Dylan concert. That sounds freaking awesome. Best water slide ever was at Noah's Ark Water Park in Wisconsin Dells, the Scorpion's Tail. That sounds friggin' awesome. Everybody got fun 4th of July plans? What are yours? If you guys are interested in hanging out with us the day after the 4th of July, Stephanie and I talking about going down to Kimberling City and having a day down there out on a pontoon boat and just taking a nice, beautiful, relaxing day. There will be some action, I imagine, but it's all between me and Steffi, and you're going to have to bring your own date. Do you enjoy this kind of humor? Is this your kind of thing? Make sure that you click the follow button if you're on Rumble and you've never watched the show before. If you've never watched the Wake Up America show, you don't want to miss a single episode. So when you click the follow button at rumble.com/AP4Liberty, you'll get a notification whenever we go live, again, which is every 5 weekdays, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. The Wake Up America show streams live, and it's a great place to start your day. It's a great place to have fun, stay informed. You get great guests. I had two jet pilots this morning on the Wake Up America show, a B-2 bomber, a B-1 bomber. And joining us this morning was Colonel Rob Maness. Can we give it up for Colonel Rob Maness and for Lieutenant Colonel Tony Minetti, a couple of colonels on the show today? So I work hard to bring you great guests, to bring you great content. It's not just a goofy morning talk show where you're going to just hear somebody talking out of their butt. You're going to hear somebody who's talking out of their butt and has amazing guests who can inform you on what's happening in the world. And isn't it nice to have both? I don't call myself a comedian, but there is sometimes a joke or two. Here on the Wake Up America show, it's the 4 Liberty Network, where 4 different live shows come together to create the For Liberty Network. All of it funded not by Iran, not by Qatar, not by Israel, but by you, the American people, and purchasers at forlibertyshop.com. That's our merchandise shop. Don't roll your eyes. It's not just any Liberty merchandise shop. Nobody has For Liberty Shop's collection of things like bomb pop popsicle earrings. You want to get those by the 4th of July? You better order them today. Maybe you want a pair of Don't Tread on Me snake earrings to give to your lovely wife on the 4th of July. Now's the time. Go to forlibertyshop.com, and if you're going to be hanging out with us down at the Lake of the Ozarks, it may not be the Gulf of America, but it's the next best thing if you've got a Gulf of America shark beach towel designed by yours truly at forlibertyshop.com. Our beach towels are thicker and fluffier than beach towels that you get whenever you go on your tourist trap destinations. If you go to forlibertyshop.com, that's the number 4, libertyshop.com. You're going to get a beautiful Gulf of America beach towel with a great white shark and an American flag on it. I also need to remind you, since we're talking about the shows at forlibertynetwork.com, that our Friday night show is an absolute blast. Last week, we weren't on last week, but the last week that we were on, the Freedom Arcade on Friday night, which is our Rumble premium exclusive members only show, it was a huge success. This week, we're doing it again, and we're going to have everybody who wants to join us on the Discord channel. You can actually join the stream in the live chat, and you can also join the game that we're playing. We do 2 different games typically. I like to play Call of Duty Warzone because I'm addicted. And we also play party games where it's trivia and fun games with each other. You can be in the chat, be on the show, and you can be playing the games with us live. It's an absolute blast. We went 3 hours last time, but it's only Rumble Premium exclusive members. In order to be able to watch the Freedom Arcade show, you have to be a member of Rumble Premium. How do I become a member of Rumble Premium? You go to rumble.com/premium and use their promo code studio. Then you'll be unlocked so that you can join us on Friday nights for our fun Freedom Arcade show. Me and Steffi, once the baby's asleep on Friday nights. Last time we played for 3 hours. You can play too, but you have to be a member of Rumble Premium. So go to rumble.com/premium, use promo code studio. Join me and Stephanie for the Freedom Arcade. It's an absolute blast. Gosh darn it, I hate when the show's over because I love you guys. And I absolutely love doing the Wake Up America show and hang out with you guys. This was a huge show today. I felt like really proud of the work that I did today. How about you? If you liked it and you thought it was worth something, maybe go to forlibertyshop.com, exit through the gift shop, make a purchase to show your support. If you're a capitalist, or maybe if you're feeling like Austin's a humble beggar, street beggar, we're going to give him a little donation, then perhaps he deserves a little Rumble rant before you leave as well. Thank you to the 253 people watching us over on Rumble. Thank you to the thousands, perhaps, I'm seeing right now over on X this morning who've tuned in. Over 3,000 who viewed the Wake Up America show this morning. It's fantastic to see that our show is growing, our socials are growing, our network is growing. The documentary went fantastic. The shoot for 3 days. I can't wait to show you guys the trailer when we cut it together. There's just so many friggin' amazing things going on over here, but it's all thanks to you. The Rumble rants, the purchases for Liberty Shop, the clicks, the likes, the comments, just being here today. Thank you guys. You're helping me to make dreams come true, and you're spreading the ideas of liberty. Why not? Why not feed a little redheaded baby while you also and support a libertarian family while you also get to get a little coffee and something like that back for yourself. Do something good for the country. Do something good for a family. Do something good for yourself. It's the For Liberty Network. We'll see you guys right back again here tomorrow. Don't forget, got Camellia Peterson. It's not Thirsty Thursday, but it's damn close. We'll see you then tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Central, right here at rumble.com/AP for Liberty on the For Liberty Network. Bye, guys.
Founding fathers dreamed of liberty, they forgot one thing: Coffee. Introducing Founding Flavors Coffee, the brew that built America, and the brew that's fueling a new revolution, one kitchen at a time. Small batch roasted, Patriot approved, and disappearing faster than a red coat at Yorktown. Don't get left behind, soldier. Real patriots are starting their mornings with Founding Flavors. And trust us, freedom tastes better with a fresh cup in your hand. Stop drinking those tyrant brews who take your money and don't support your values. Stocks are limited, demand is booming, and your morning deserves a taste of liberty. Order now at forlibertyshop.com before the next shipment gets signed, sealed, and sold out. Founding Flavors Coffee, the official brew of morning rebellions everywhere. Get yours at forlibertyshop.com.